According to World Bank in 2018, Nigeria has a population of 190 million. That's 70% of that population is occupied by women. As a result, more women are in workforce and usually combine this with domestic duties. Initially, men were the breadwinners of the homes, while the women stayed at home to tend to the kids and attend to other domestic affairs. But this changed during the World War II, when women were introduced to paid labor as means of keeping up with production. Over time, more women became educated and started taking up jobs as a means to support their homes. Over the years, women's participation in the labor force has increased greatly, mainly due to financial reasons. It is nearly impossible for families with children and relatives to survive on the income of a man alone. As such, most families experience situations where both parents have to work to make ends meet. Now, looking at the economic situation in Nigeria, the men cannot do it alone. The women must continue to rise up to support, which the women have been doing for a very long time. Now, the question is, how can women balance work or business and family, ensuring none of them fails? I am joined by Mrs. Roland McFoy, who is a UK-trained maritime professional, a specialist in cabotage and maritime labor mediation, hand-tested on several multinational oil and gas and shipping companies, respectively, as well as a government assignment and project in Nigeria and Africa at large. She held management positions in several multinational maritime organizations in the last 19 years. Today, she is the first woman to own a maritime school in Nigeria. This is Inside Today. I am Jumai Manson. Stay tuned. You're welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Inside Today. And we're looking at women in the work front or the workforce, how to balance work and family. And like I said, I am joined by Mrs. Rollins. And good afternoon, ma'am. Are you here?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Okay. With your profile, we've read a lot what you do, how you combine your professionalism as a maritime labor mediator, and of course, we've read a lot about your profile. Now, looking at the family and your company in which you run and the things that you do when it comes to business, how did you manage to balance it all?
Well, I would say that it's interests and focus, because I believe that if you're a family person, no matter what you're doing, you have to know that your family comes first. Yes, you have to make money. Yes, you have to be, an icon. Yes, you have to go to school. You have to be a professional and all that. But there has to be life after the office. And I actually believe that life after the office is what actually makes it. When makes you happy because after making the family, and you don't have the family to spend it on, and you don't have the family to play with, you don't have the family to ask you how was the work today, how did you go? Oh, that one part, don't worry, you lost it this time. Next time you're going to get it and all that. What are you making money for? So when you draw the line, this is family, this is work, and you face yourself in reality, and you'll be able to manage it.
But some women find it a bit difficult, when there's so many pressures combined when it comes to giving that balance between family and the workforce. Like from the intro, you've heard that there's so many women out there who are on neck and shoulders when it comes to board meetings with individuals in the home front. How can they actually create that balance from themselves?
Well, I think when the board meeting happens, or when the traveling happens, maybe that things that has to do with the job. But after the board meeting, probably they don't start by 11. Sometimes I come in 11 or and then or after the travel, probably you have to travel for one meeting or the other, for one seminar or the other, and you are out of the room for 1 week or that. After that, you really as a woman, how to think of how to make it up to your family for that period you were away. So that it is very, very important to strike the balance. Because you cannot allow your job to take all the good part or the good times that you have, and at the end of the day, you don't have time for your husband, you don't have time for your children, you don't have time to socialize. And then I ask myself, or I ask a lot of people this, then what are you making money for? Like I will always say that you can always, as difficult as it might be, you can always arrange it. When I used to work, when I was an employee, my first daughter was still in school, and I know that I had to resume work by 8. But from age 0 to when she left secondary school, I dropped her in the school every month. I told myself that I had to drop her in school every month. So I worked towards that. I prepared for it, and I was able to meet up. And from age 0 to when she left secondary school and before she went to secondary, I dropped her in school every morning before she went. And that was the time, even though I see her when we come back in the evening, I go through her lesson book and all that. But we really also do have very good fellowship. Myself and herself alone in the car when going to school. And that is so much for us. That is so much for us. And I just feel that your interest matters. I'm a career woman, there's no doubt about it. But I cannot keep it. I have to create room for both. My family is important, my career is important.
I'm looking at it, looking at the moral degradation of youths. The woman is as the focus is supposed to be in the home front, caring for the children and not allowing the children to grow above themselves by taking care of themselves. How can a woman still work and become that working class woman just to add value in the home front without allowing that side that she's supposed to look after her children not to fail when it comes to morals, when it comes to godly upbringings? How can she balance it all? Looking at the circumstances in the country and, of course, the economic hardship, why it's important that a woman helps out in the home front.
Well, you are correct, but one thing I have to tell you is this. A lot of times, mothers, especially, or families, they start getting worried when they begin to see cases of bad behavior in their children. But I can assure you that if you did what they are supposed to do from a zero, you talk with your children. In fact, you know that you can argue that children, even in the womb, they listen, they hear what you're saying. But what we do is a lot of us want to start training our children probably when they are up to 9, 10. From 9, 10, these children are already being formed. They're already forming their opinion, and that is the mistake. So the training of a child actually starts from the womb. So and you as an individual, as an individual, if you know what you want from the day your child was born, you begin to put it. Because when you start, if you want to put it at the age of 8, at the age of 9 or 10, you have already lost the first 8 years. The child has taken in something like 2 things, and it's just a child. I don't really understand it. There are some children that they maybe at 2 years, their mother beat them, they beat back. Their mother beat them, they beat back. And you say, and the mother laugh and say, these children, this is the way they are. I, I pity for such mothers because they are lost it. When your child does that at the age of 2, you beat your child and your child beats you back. You beat the child, even if it's 2. You give that child a thorough beating. Next time, the child will know that, no. And then when the child grows with that, to talk. And the talking and sensitization is not when at 10 years, the child is already formed. And then were you going to school? Were you going to their school? And were you participating in the school activity from when they were 0, 8? Or you want to start training a child when the child is already in secondary school or the child is in university? So this thing is moral. This thing of moral negligence. It's what I call adult delinquency, parents delinquency. So to be more precise, you see these parents these days, a child of 10 years is having an iPhone or is having a technophone that is 100,000. I say it's just so that they'll be able to contact me or so that I will know where they are. So when you are not around, what do they do with the phone? So what kind of training are you giving a child? Because you can afford, you have the money, then you give a 10-year-old child an Android phone with a SIM card inside it and probably with an internet. And then tomorrow you are saying there is moral negligence. You, the parent, you are the one who created the moral negligence. And that is why I tag it as parent or adult delinquency.
Now, still looking at the training you're talking about, how can a mother instill those sort of trainings when she's never around, when it comes to the pressure at work, how she has to give her best so she won't be sacked in order to put food on the table or to put all hands on deck to support the home front? How can she instill those trainings when she's a working class woman?
Let me tell you. When you come back in the evening, what do you do? Do you look into their book? Do you call your children and say, sit down, let's talk?
Well, she's so tired.
You tell them folk tales, you ask them how she's so tired, and then ask them. Let me tell you, there's something I believe. If you know your job is so bad, that you
we seem to be having a little bit of challenge when it comes to the signal, and we'll quickly go on a quick break and then we'll come back. We're having issues with the signal and I'm sure this will be rectified. So let's quickly go on a quick break and we'll join with Mrs. Rollins. Don't go anywhere. It's Inside Today. You're welcome back. Apologies for that slight interruption. It was just due to circumstances. And hey, we're back and we're better now. And then looking at women in the workforce, balancing the work and family. And we heard from Mrs. Rowlands how she said it's very important to instill that training in a child. For many mothers out there who their 2-year-olds will spank them and they'll ignore it and say to themselves, it's a small child. She says you should deal with it. It's very important that it's wrong. It's bad training when a woman just sees that and says the child is a small child because the child is 2 years of age. And for mothers or families out there who buy expensive phones for their 9-year-old or 10-year-old, when you are not there, what happens? And as a mother who is supposed to be in the forefront when it comes to the home front, you come back from work and you are too tired. I mentioned, what if she's too tired? She said, what do you do with your evenings? Do you call your kids and ask them what did they do today? How was school today? Do you try as much as possible to be part of their lives? But what I have gathered, it's not easy. As a mother, it takes a lot of sacrifice. And for you to instill these morals, for you to instill all of these things, you need as much, you need to avail yourself in the lives of your children so they will not go astray. And I am joined by Mrs. Hollands Mafoy, and she's here. Ma'am, thank you for joining in.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Is the network better now?
Yes, it's better. Thank you so much. Now, like I mentioned before we had that small interruption, I said a woman that comes home, you were talking about instilling training in a child, and I said, when she comes home, she's tired. How can she balance that training to help the child in a godly upbringing and to balance it all at the same time? And you laughed. And you said she's tired. I heard when you laughed.
Yes, I did. I said, I laughed. You come back, you don't come back tired of everything. So if you don't instill discipline in one day, so let's say in 7 days out of the week, but a week is 7 days. You come back tired 3 days, 2 days you are not tired, Saturday you are not at work, Sunday you are not at work. So you already have a very good ratio. So you already have 4/7. It's a tough match. So what is important is not how long you stay, but how much you bond with them, and how much you let your children know that I will not take this. This family will not take this. This is what the family stands for. This is what we expect of you. For those of us that are Christians, this is what the Bible says. This is that, and you are telling them to probably from the school and programs in the church. For those of them that are Muslim, they also have their own programs and all that. And then, of course, you supervise what they do. If you are not able to look at your child's book today, tomorrow you might be able to look at it. You do start tomorrow, you might be able to look at it. And if that child knows that 3 times a week, my mother must look at my book. And if you have a lesson teacher at home, and the lesson teacher knows that you can walk in at any time and ask her questions. And when you look at the book, you will ask her, why is the book like this? Why are these things not written? I think that lesson teacher will pick up always, knowing fully well that you can bump into her or him anytime, any day. So it's a gradual process. It's not a wholesome thing, but it's a gradual process. And if that is your goal, if that is your interest and focus to build a well-trained children, then you must have time, create time for it. If you can create time for yourself, if you are a family person, then you can create time for your family too. Always be balanced. Now, okay, let me go to extent. If you are saying because you are a career woman, you come back always tired. Then, of course, you are telling me that because you come back always tired, you cannot attend to your husband. You can't make your husband food. You can't give him time in the other room. Then what? Are you expecting to retain that husband? But of course, you are giving the husband signal that he cannot take care of it. So these
Uh,
things are very comfortable. And they
Mrs.
are
Rollins,
very, very good.
I was going to come to that. Mrs. Rollins, I was going to come to that, especially, when I was going to come to that. I wanted to ask the question. I know a woman is trying so hard to balance it when it comes to the children. Now, the husband who she's trying to support, bringing in an extra income to give that balance in the home front, isn't he supposed to be understanding? And
He's
at least
supposed to be
through a
very, very
blind eye
understanding.
when she
And that,
cannot
if you see,
make that
if I want
delicious
to,
meal that he wants.
if I want to talk about this, then I will go to the beginning of the relationship.
Okay.
Because when you are cutting, a lot of ladies today, when they are cutting, they keep a lot of things under the carpet. But those things will surely show when you are married. They will show when you are married because I tell you something. The man knows that this you are a career woman, that you are this, you are that, and you struggle to make that time to please him. You don't even want him to see any of this bad side of yours or and all that, and he sees it so smooth and everything, and then you get married to him and you come back every day tired. Then the question you are the man is trying to ask you is that you were not like this when we got married. What changed? You were doing this same job and you had time for me. You will come, you will do this, you will do this. What changed? So what answer are you going to give?
I'm
And
sure
so,
children,
so
childbirth, that
you
changed.
as and so I believe in you putting your cards on the table. Myself, of course, I had a court trip before I got married, but I made my husband know that though I'm not where I want to be, but this is the kind of thing I want to do. This is the kind of life I want to do, and I need somebody who can help me and who can encourage me. I don't need somebody who will pull me down. I don't need somebody who will feel slighted and all that. I put my cards on the table, and so here I am. For every little thing I do, he's at my beck and call. He drops the children in the morning, I pick them in the evening, or he drops them in the evening, I pick them in the morning. Right now I'm on leave. He drops my son in the morning, and I'm here in the school to pick him up. So
Now, looking at it, Ms. Rollins, I need to ask this very important question. Now, balancing sometimes it's not easy. A woman tries so hard to balance it up, but it's not just easy. What do you advise if the home front
you
is
can never
suffering?
balance it.
You said?
You can never balance it equally.
So
But you
one has
can
to
try.
suffer.
And yes, and when you try so much, and your partner sees that you're trying, and if your partner is with you, he will give you a helping hand, and he will pull you up.
But what if the woman is not in a relationship or married to someone that is not understanding, who doesn't see that it's not his duty to assist when it comes to the home front? She has to cook, she has to clean, take care of the children, and still go to work or do that business. Where do you put her in that kind of situation?
Well, such a woman will actually also work it out. Because I know that some men don't like housekeeper, whether an old one or a young one, they just feel that I want my wife to do it. Some of them don't even eat food cooked by somebody else. I want my wife to cook it and I want my wife to serve me. So it's not left for that woman. If you love the man so much and you know that this is how the man is before you marry him, and you knew you were going to cook, then you work out the modalities with which you will cook. You have to work it out because you take it. I know a lot of people that their husbands don't take those kind of things, but they have to work it out somehow. So you have to you need a high intelligence, and you need wisdom and understand. You need wisdom and knowledge to be able to deal with such a man.
I don't want to argue, but I want to ask: is instead of working it out, shouldn't there be like an understanding? Working it out is going out of your own self, out sacrificing and being the bigger person. But doesn't it take two to tangle? It takes a man to actually understand that in this economy situation, we want to move forward. Okay, let us try and create that balance. Don't you think so?
That's what I mean by working it out. Working it out means either having a talk with him, if you have to beg him to understand, you have to bring in his best friend to tell him, you have to bring in his mother or father, whoever he respects so much, and he can help you to explain. If it's your pastor, if you have to pray, you have to fast, whatever you have to for him to have that understanding and see that, he can help you. That's what I mean by working it out.
Okay, now looking at there's this story
You have
that
to work
broke.
it out. Otherwise,
Okay, ma'am, there's this story that broke last week about a pregnant woman. I don't know if you heard about that story that was trending about the pregnant woman that actually woke up at about 4:50 a.m. to make food for her husband because her husband came home and said his single colleague, a woman, cooked food and she will bring two extra spoons for him to eat. And then she listened to what the husband said, and then she decided that she will wake up every morning at about 4:50 to cook to ensure she makes breakfast for her husband at about that time, and she's pregnant. Now she received a lot of backlash. Some people praised her for being a virtuous woman. Some said she loves her home, she wants to keep her home. But some actually said the man is greedy and she's not serious. They said a lot of things. What would you make of that story?
he's not in a marriage.
You said?
She's not in a marriage.
Okay, because she woke up at
Marriage
about.
is a two-sided relationship. No, it's not because she woke up around 12. For 16 years, my husband was working before he started his own business. I gave him food every morning to go to work. I didn't want him to buy food because I wasn't sure of what he was doing. And I wanted him to look very well, and I wanted him to eat well. So I was making food and I was giving him food for 16 years. But I was doing it as sales. I was my responsibility. Even though I was working, I had to leave the house 6:30, 7. But all this had to be ready before I leave. So, but when a man begins to come home, to fight me with his colleague that's making food, one thing or the other, and then cannot understand my position, then whatever it is, I have to stand up. No, 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 no. That's not a marriage. Let me tell you, that thing didn't start. That we are just hearing, that we woke up by this time to this happened, this happened. It would have been better if they told us how they have been married in the last 5 or 10 years. So that didn't start that day. In the last 5 or 10 years, she has not been in a marriage. It was already started relationship.
So a woman, but this is all about the balancing we're talking about. Isn't one partner being subtle and understanding and trying to make it balance, to make it work when it comes to this sort of relationship? You know, the work and family is a very delicate institution that one has to thread softly, don't you think?
It's not slavery. And marriage is not prison. There are some situations that you look at, better you walk out than to die. And for me as a Christian, I don't think that you walk out of a marriage because your life is at stake. That doesn't stop you from going to heaven. So you as an individual have to decide what exactly you want.
Okay.
Because if you are involved with a non-partner, there's something we call non-partners, absent partners, or You don't have a marriage or you don't have a relationship. So, all marriages that are married.
I want to ask a question before I go into when I extend this family to in-laws, mother-in-laws, father-in-laws. And you know, we as Africans, Nigerians, we believe in morals. When it comes, we're traditionalists. We believe in respect and all of that. And a woman who is working and has her mother-in-law who is on her way from the village to visit her, for instance, and she has to be at work because she has a presentation. How is she going to balance that? And put it in mind that the economy does not permit her to have a help.
Understand that, and the mother-in-law cannot understand that. I'm sorry for such a human. Let me tell you, when I first got married, I had an in-law who visited our home, and I spent at about 4-5 for 3 days, for 1 week, and then I found out that she was not happy. She was frowning, and I was like, "Auntie, what's going on? Why are you behaving like this?" And then she now told me that, "Did I not know that people in the house to eat? Why didn't I come home to make food? To make food in the afternoon when I'm at work?" I didn't have to answer that question. I just said, "Sorry, I was joking," and I just said that. So that's why I said it depends on your partner. Your partner is very, very important. And so when my husband came back, and I told my husband, I said, "This is what so person said." And my husband was like, "Are you?" But it's not an illiterate now. It's not that you have to go to work. So you make breakfast, then you come back in the afternoon to make lunch. I said, "I really understand." I misunderstood that. That's why I'm having this discussion with you. And my husband put her in her place immediately.
Okay. All right. Now, Mrs. Rollins, we have to quickly go on a quick break, but you will rejoin and come back on the program Inside Today. Let's quickly go on a quick break. Remember, it's Inside Today on Global Television. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
You're welcome back, and yes, this is Inside Today, looking at the women in focus in workforce, and of course balancing the home front and family. As we all know, more women are in the workforce and usually combine with domestic duties. And we all know that initially men were the breadwinners of the homes, while the women stayed at home to tend to kids and other important things that has to do with the home. And of course, mostly domestic affairs, but this changed, okay? And when the women were introduced to paid labors as a means of keeping up with production over time, more women became educated and started taking up jobs. And I'm here with Mrs. Hollands, and she has been intimating us about how you can actually balance the home front and balance your career, balance your job, and helping out with the children, tending to the needs of the home when it comes to the husband, when it comes to the children, when it comes to in-laws. It takes understanding. It takes one to just meet at a reach and come and do not compromising, but coming together in understanding and making the best effort to support one another in the home front. Of course, we know in these economic hard times, there's so many things that needs two hands to make it work and not one. All right, let me see if I'm joined with Mrs. Hollands. Ma'am, are you with me? I'm sure she will be joining us soon. And I wanted to ask, she being a professional and has risen to the ranks of a maritime professional and the first maritime school in Nigeria, balancing her career, her business, the home front when it comes to her husband, when it comes to the children. I'm sure there must have been challenges. I really need to know how was she able to manage the challenges that came with a working class mom and trying to balance the home front. I'm sure it wasn't easy. All right, Mrs. Hollands, are you here with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for joining in on Insight today. I know being a career woman that has worked for a very long time, I read your profile and it says 19 years. And of course, yours is the first maritime school in Nigeria. I'm sure it took a lot of hard work and it took the support of your spouse and, of course, the cooperation of your children to get to where you are today. True or false?
Very correct. I have worked for 42 years. I have been in the maritime industry for 19 years.
And I am sure it came with a lot of challenges. How were you able to balance these challenges when it comes to the home front, your children, husband, colleagues, in-laws? How were you able to carry everyone under that umbrella without anyone failing or suffering?
Some failed, some suffered certain things. It's not a perfect relationship, but then if you're on a journey, you don't expect the journey not to be eventful. If it's not eventful, then it might not even be a success. So if I'm saying that one didn't suffer, then I must be telling lies. But then it will be seen that overall, what is the ratio of what you are giving in? Are you trying? Are you really interested in this marriage, in these children, in this home? Then that is what I expect a spouse to look at. And you see, it's both sides. It's both sides. For the woman, when you want to look at your husband, you want to ask yourself, what are the things that this man has put in this home? And then for a man also, you want to ask yourself, irrespective of the fact that my wife is always out, she's running from one place to the other, but she's trying. She tries with the children. She also tries with me. That is, will I say, the ideal home. But unfortunately, in most homes, it's not like that. So if you say one will not suffer, one will not, no. It's very, this journey of marriage is very eventful. And it's actually in an institution you cannot pass out until you die. Once you get into it, you are learning, but you never become perfect, and you never graduate until you die. So in the process, one thing would lead to the other. That's the way I look at it.
Well, how were you able to manage these
And it now,
challenges?
I was able to manage it because my husband was important to me. My husband is important to me. Very, very important to me, because if he's not important to me, then I wouldn't have married him. I love my husband. And then my children came. Of course, I called them from heaven, so I have to give them time. So I have to find a way of balancing. I just told you the story of how I will drop my daughter in the school in the morning before going to work.
Yes.
Sometimes I come back, I'm trying to look at her. I'm tired. I'm opening my eyes. The eyes are not opening. But there's something about children. The child feels that you know everything, that you are seeing everything. But you are not actually seeing anything, but you are just making an attempt as a mother. And the child goes to school tomorrow and says, I have to do this. So otherwise, if my mother comes back, she's going to look at my book. My mother must not see a space in my notes. I have to copy my notes very well and all that. It's an impression you are creating. You might not be perfect, but you are creating an impression. So that's it.
I have
Same thing if you want to, in dealing with your husband, same thing also. The man will see the cooperation. You are cooperating even though you are tired and all that. And a reasonable man will look at it, and deep down inside him, he will thank God for his wife. I know my wife is tired, but trying put up something. He might just tell you, don't worry, just go to bed, or he would just say, don't worry, I know you are tired, or one thing or the other. Any man that cannot see that, well, oh, it's unfortunate for.
All right, Mrs. Hollands, looking at this very critically now, of course, there's always an advantage and a disadvantage. You've just talked about the challenges. What are the advantage of a woman who tries to balance her work and family, in a woman that has to undergo the workforce as a mother, as a wife, and as a woman? What are the advantages and disadvantages?
The disadvantage is that you might die in the process, or you might get maimed, or you might develop hypertension. All the disadvantages are negative. But the advantage is that you can succeed. You can succeed, and God can help you. Your husband will see that you're trying. Your children will turn out good. And all that. Why I say the disadvantage is that you might die, you might be hypertensive, you might be maimed, is that because you are trying to please your partner over and above your strength, you might drop dead. You might
We have a little bit
develop hypertension and become hypertensive. It's not a joke. So I really believe that a woman cannot do this alone. You must have a cooperative partner. You must have a reasonable husband. You must have, because this husband.
I think we have a little problem with the network.
I need permission. I have to take my child to school. Sir, at least, can you give me permission? I have to be at my child's PTA. Sir, my child is starting university today. I have to take my child to school. Sir, please, I need sick leave. I'm not feeling fine. But they approve those things. They approve them in the office. So what happens to their home? So why is it that most men just play? They are dual persons. In the office, they are different people, and everybody loves them because of the way they treat people. They come to the house. I just believe that probably the woman has married the wrong husband. Full stop.
Okay. Now, with all of this, a woman who wants to combine the workforce and, of course, balance work and balance family, she needs help. Sometimes, is it just the spouse she needs, or she needs other helps, like someone like a young girl that can help her, assist her in some of these tasks? Because I believe the stress is so much that a woman alone, even when she's married with children, cannot carry this burden. For the longest time that you have worked and you've tried to balance it, was it just you and your immediate family? Didn't you get like other help that could come and assist you?
What happened is, in my own case, initially I was alone, but gradually relations, particularly my relations, came in one way or the other to live with me. And now everybody is gone. Everybody is gone. So I have a housekeeper now. And when you talk about having a young girl to manage things for you, or to help you this, that, no way. No way. Take a housekeeper, an elderly woman, a hard-working, nice elderly woman to do your job for you, so that you don't create problem for yourself. Because some people are not normal. So, and if balancing the job or balancing the home front means that the woman will do everything and nobody will help her, then it's not going to be balanced. It will never balance. If we are talking about balancing the home front for the working class woman, you will balance it in different ways. The balancing depends on how you see it. If you get somebody who can do the washing for you, the cooking for you, so that you know that when you come back from work, you rest, so that you will have time for your children, you have time for your husband, or you get somebody who can do the sweeping, whatever. However, you are able to put it together so that you can have time for your husband and your children, which is the most important thing, and then still have strength to do your work when you get to the office. That is balancing a home. It must not be you.
Yeah, but Mrs.
And
Rolla,
that your husband has to understand with you.
yes. You mentioned, you said to get a housekeeper, you can get someone elderly. The economy, the reason why the woman started working in the first place is to balance and to ensure she brings that part of the percentage to just give the home a better feel. Coming together, the husband and the wife, their income, so they can make ends meet. In a situation where she cannot afford that extra hand when it comes to housekeeping or housekeeper, someone that will wash, someone that will help her in one or two things, what do you think she should do in that sort of situation?
What many of us have not looked at is this: once you take a younger person, a house help or whatever, that younger person goes to school, you feed her, you clothe her, you do every other thing. I can assure you, if you put it together at the end of the month, it's more than the cost of getting a housekeeper. Many people have not done that mathematics, and that's why they're still, wallowing in that. And when you take a younger person, in this present Nigeria of these days, because the parents are poor, they allowed you to take their child. They are also expecting you to give them something. So why don't you just take somebody that comes in the morning and probably goes in the evening? Or if you can afford it, somebody that will live with you and do these things for you. These things, we have gone through them severally, and take it or leave it is better to take. And I want you to know also that no matter the level you belong, if you like, let your salary be 20,000. You have people that you are better off than 1 million times who are looking up to you. If you are up there and you can afford 3 million a month, you still have people that are down there are looking up to you. If you can afford only 10,000 a month, there are people that are down there that are wishing that they are you. So God has balanced the equation for us. So it's not left for us to reasonably work our things out. So, but if you want to compare house help, the young girl, and an elderly person, is not comparable, because the cost of feeding that child, the cost of clothing that child, and no house girl anymore. Any young lady you bring, you must put them in school. Except are you doing child labor or child what? You put them in school. So when you put the school fees and every other thing together, what's the point? And the person goes to school in the morning, comes back in the evening. How much work is the person able to do? How much work? You come back every night, every evening, nothing has been done. You are angry. You are shouting. You shout, and then some people beat. And then your neighbors begin to say you are beating because it's not your child. But the truth is that the child has gone to school, and the child is tired also, like your own children. And I don't like it anyway. From day one, I didn't take a house girl, so I don't like it. So I'd rather take a housekeeper than a house girl.
All right,
I don't even like the word.
Okay, Mrs. Hollands, now having a good relationship with a husband, children, and also recording success at the workplace or business, how can you train a child to remain under the umbrella of God and still have an amazing home training? In 2 words, please tell us.
The only way you can do that is, my pastor will say, my eyes learn faster than my ears. If you can decode that, that's the only way. My eyes learn faster than my ears.
Okay.
Because what a child sees informs 80% of what the child will become. The child always see the mother and the father in love, see the way they talk to one another, see them always going out together, laughing together, and then they go to church together, see the relationship in church, see the relationship with the siblings that come, either the father's sibling or the mother's sibling, and wrapped up with God and everything. What else do you expect that child to become? But if the child sees challenges, sees this, sees that, oh, honey, it's not like that. Try and understand me. No, I will not understand. I told you the other day never to do this again, honey. I'm sorry. What do you expect that child to become? How? So that's my one sentence.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Rollins McFoy and McFoy. And now we have to wrap it up on the program Inside Today. Thank you so much for being a part of the program, talking about women in workforce. Thank you so much. And let's not forget, Mrs. Rollins McFoy is a UK trained maritime professional, a specialist in cabotage and maritime labor mediation, hand tested on several multinational oil and gas and shipping companies, respectively, as well as on government assignments and projects in Nigeria and Africa at large. She held management positions in several multinational maritime organizations in the last 19 years. Today, she's the first woman to own a maritime school in Nigeria. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being a part of Insight Today.
Thank you, and
Thank
God
you.
bless.
God bless. Thank you so much. And of course, we have to wrap it up on the program Inside Today. And I hope you've learned one or two on how a woman can actually balance the workforce, the home, and the family when it comes to a working class woman. It doesn't matter whether she's a career woman or a business woman. You can always create that balance. You know, for most people that will say, Jumai Manson, how much is my salary? I earned, for instance, 30,000 naira. How can I balance it and pay for someone that can render service for me to fill that gap? Well, you heard what Mrs. Rollins said. She said someone that owns 30,000, there's someone looking up to you for that person to be in your shoes. So it doesn't matter. You can always strike that balance. All right, now it's a wrap on the program. Thank you all so much for being a part of the program. Remember, Inside Today comes tomorrow also. I am Jumai Manson. Good evening.
Mr. McFoy.